What's taking so long?
This is gonna take some time.
Come on.
Now, are you sure about this? Because,
Please.
alright, let's go.
Yes! Finally. I'm not the size of a pencil. Now let's just... Oh, come on!
Yeah. Why did you say anything?
You wouldn't listen. Whatever, I have a review to go.
Hey, get back here. Bizarro!
We're a device. If you get a package full of weird, supernatural crap, don't get it. Anyway, Mr. Higgins Comes Home. Published in 2017, Mr. Higgins Comes Home is the first in a series of graphic novels by comic book writer Mike Mignola, who most will know for creating strange and amazing supernatural adventures of characters like Lobster Johnson, Hellboy, and the very underrated Amazing Saran Head. Seriously, go track down Amazing Saran Head. You will not be disappointed. Now, let's get into the story. Warning. Spoilers. We open to a European village where we are introduced to Professor T.J. Minhard, who is awakened in the middle of the night by a vampire that is looking for something in his room. Now, most people would be crapping themselves in the sight of blood-sucking monsters standing before them, but this is a Mike Mignola story, so Minhard is actually pretty civil about it. In fact, he actually offers the monster a civilized chat. Unfortunately, the vampire is not interested and tries to kill him, but it's quickly revealed that Minehart is actually a bit of a monster hunter and repels it with a crucifix. The vampire runs off and the professor's partner, Mr. Knox, is awakened from the situation. He then asks if this will affect any of their plans, but Higgins says that it won't really. The only real change being when they'll be meeting Mr. Higgins, our titled character. Why are they visiting Mr. Higgins? Because the two men are on the hunt for a place called Castle Golga. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. The castle will be the home of a festival known as Walpurgis. Higgins has been to the castle before as a young man, along with his wife Mary, who encountered the owner of the castle, Count Golga, who was pretty kind to them, offered them food, a nice place to sleep, but then proceeded to actually turn Higgins' wife into a vampire, and then tormented him for some time. Higgins would eventually escape, but now all he wanted to do was just die. But during his time in the castle, Golga turned into a werewolf, and apparently it made things really hard for him to just die. So instead, he spends his days at a convent. It takes a bit, but Meinhard and Knox are able to convince him to help by promising that they will be able to kill him after the job is done. Meanwhile, Count Golga finds out that Meinhard is coming, but instead of canceling the festival, he will invite them. Why invite him? Will Meinhard and Knox be able to stop Golga from summoning the devil himself? And will Higgins find peace? Yeah, you definitely need to read this for yourself. This is a pretty great story. Mike Mignola has clearly not lost his touch by mixing horror, comedy, and paying tribute to classic horror. There are several visual and verbal Easter eggs and references to Hammer horror films in this book. If you love dark comedies like Addams Family, Good Omen, and What We Do in the Shadows, both the film and the TV series, you'll definitely love this. I haven't read the sequel, Our Encounters with Evil, yet, but if I do, you bet I'm gonna do an immediate review of it. As for the characters, this is definitely an interesting cast, starting with Mr. Higgins, who, though is clearly depressed, is also shown to be a very gentle soul and very polite. You really feel bad for him, and you really want things to go well for him in the end, so he can find some form of peace. Next we have Professor Meinhardt and Mr. Knox. These two are pretty hilarious, and are one of the best parts of the book, which is important since they seem to be the main focus of the second book. Meinhardt is so numb to seeing these things, he treats like a demonic force like how you would react if you saw a fly in your room. Like, annoying, but not the worst thing that could happen. While Mr. Knox, on the other hand, though he's slowly becoming numb to it, he still gets some pretty hilarious reactions. Finally, we got Golga, who is just a great villain. He's just this great balance of dark, demented Lord of Night to a character who, as I mentioned, could be something from What We Do in the Shadows. Granted, that part of his personality doesn't pop up too much, but when it does show, it's pretty hilarious. There are other characters in this story, like the vampires that show up in the festival and Golga's servant, but they're either characters that are just more on the sidelines that don't really get to do much, or talking about them would just lead to major spoilers. spoilers. As for the art, it was done by Warwick Johnson Cadwell, or WJC, and I'll be honest, I've only read one other story with this art style, that being Quantum Jack.
Oh man, now that's a story.
He has a very interesting style where it's very cartoony but creepy, simple but complex. It really is fascinating. Plus, how he handles the action is great. Hell, there is a moment with Higgins' werewolf form which is just pretty damn cool and well done. Mr. Higgins Comes Home is a great story for Halloween and a great start to this new series by Mike Mignola.
Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe, and next time, we'll be including the theme of Halloween. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that.